again.
The rest of the time, they choose when to lock the door to their cozy single-bed cell.
At this point, reggae singer Jacure is already 4 years into a 6-year sentence. If the Dutch court's prosecutors have their way, Jacure will have to do another 5 years before we can see him again, because he only has 2 years left to go, but they are trying to increase his original sentence from 6 years to 9.5 years. Yeah, the mathematics, but let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you've never been here before, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Please help this channel to continue to grow. And then let's get right into the material. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified every time a new video goes up on SouFLoTV. Your host with the most. So, Jacure is facing a possible 9.5 year sentence as Dutch prosecutors pursue harsher penalties. Now, somebody reached out to me and said, yo, SouFLo, did you hear that they're about to give Jacure 9.5 more years on top of the 6 years that they already gave him? And I said, damn, that's going to be like 15.5 years in prison? Oh man, let me go look this up. So when I went and looked it up, it's now public in quite a few reputable news stations. That's not the case. So Jacure fans who are waiting for him to come home and who have been counting down the time, you can be rest assured that he won't be doing 15. However, any day added to the days you already have in prison is a no-go. Let me state my disclaimer first before I go any further. The situation that happened with Jacure that landed him in prison, I've already said that Jacure could have dealt with it better, and I wish he had dealt with it like the star that he is. I'm going to get my attorney, I'm going to sue you, and I'm going to keep on moving by myself and never do business with you again. Matter of fact, I am a huge reggae star, so my words will go far in damaging your reputation as a promoter. So what I will do is I will tell all the other reggae stars or reggae entertainers, do not book with this promoter. And I will spoil your business because of how you handled business with me. That's what Jacure should have done, but he didn't. He didn't. We heard the voice note. The voice note has been recorded already. It's out there for the public to hear. Jacure got on the phone and he said that he was standing in a square with a knife and he is ready to stab Papa about 1,000 times or 50,000 times or something like that, expressing his rage at how many times he was going to stab this promoter once the promoter gets to that area, to that venue, to that site. If he shows up here today, and as fate would have it, the promoter did show up in the area, and Jacure did make good on the promise. I don't know, I was going to say I don't know who leaked the voice note, but I think when Jacure got arrested, his phone was with him, and the authorities over there, they got into his phone, and they found that recorded conversation. Either that or the person he sent it to released it. But either way, it sits as proof that he thought about what he was going to do to this promoter, and then he said he was going to do it, and then he actually did it, which constitutes actually premeditation. Now, this is where Jacure sits with this court. He got lucky at sentencing because the judge did not see premeditation originally. However, in the courts in the Netherlands, it's different from this side of the world. They have a clause in their law that allows the prosecution to take the judge to court because of how the judge ruled on a case. So, the prosecution in the Netherlands is saying that this judge purposely overlooked their proof, and they gave solid proof that Jacquier actually premeditated this action, and this was clearly attempted murder, so he should be charged under attempted murder and not just whatever else he was charged with, which was a lesser charge, which we will get into in a minute. If the higher courts agrees with the prosecution that the judge made an error and the judge should have seen premeditation based on what the prosecution presented at Jacquier's trial, then a new trial will start for Jacquier, and more than likely he will end up getting an extra 3.5 years behind bars. Damn. Every time I think of Jacquier, I hear that song in my head. And I know a lot of people can't get that song out their head because he was in prison when that behind these prison walls, doing my bases, doing my time, spending my restless nights, visioning faces, oh, they are crying. Prison and a bed of roses, the liberty it makes me bawl. You know, we love the song Subtle, but not just that song. Jacquier got hits after hits after hits. Honestly, he should be out here right now. And my disclaimer is that I'm not defending what he did to the individual, but I am also conscious that action brings reaction. You know what I'm saying? And what the individual was revealed to have done brought on the action that Jacquier did, which again, I wish he had handled it much differently. So, according to the news, New York Caribbean News also published in the Jamaican News as well, reggae artist Jacquier is now facing the possibility of a longer prison sentence as Dutch prosecutors are now pushing for 9.5 years in their ongoing appeal over an attempted murder charge stemming from a 2021 stabbing incident in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, man, I remember when Jacquier was getting sentenced, the judge said one of the things he took into consideration was the fact that in Amsterdam, they very rarely have crimes like these happen. And he is thinking how public the place was that Jacquier carried this act out in, which was in Dam Square, right? Which is exactly what Jacquier said in that voice note. He said, if Papa comes to Dam Square, I'm going to stab him how many thousand times. I'm going to show him that, he's going to show him this and show him that. He can't treat people like that or whatever. They were in a dispute over monies that were supposed to be paid to Jacquier for performances he had done. And, a foreign promoter got you all the way overseas doing shows and he's not paying you for your shows that you're doing. Kind of like him want to bad up the thing. So Jacquier was like, nah, you're not badding up nothing. I bet you won't do this to anybody else after today. And he's going to make an example out of him, he said. And he did exactly that. He did exactly that. So the judge was like, man, the people who witnessed this, they are petrified. You terrorized and left petrified our citizens who are not used to this level of violence. So he added more time to it in his consideration. All in all, Jacquier came away with 6 years. So a representative for the Netherlands Public Prosecution Service confirmed that they're seeking 9.5 years of prison sentence for Jacquier, whose real name is Sikatori Alcock, in connection with that stabbing of concert promoter Nacardo Papa Blake. Boy, The sad thing too is so many other reggae stars came out to say that that particular promoter, that is his modus operandum. That is how he operates. That is what he does. He flies the artists them in, especially those from Jamaica. He has these gigs hooked up and tickets are sold, concerts are sold out. He gets his money, the venues are packed. The people are excited to see authentic Jamaican reggae artists with names. And he collects the money and he ditches. And he's not paying the artists their money and they got to get into quarrels with him over their money. And it so shows that that is exactly what happened with him and Jacure. Well, Jacure was originally convicted of attempted manslaughter in March of 2022. And he was sentenced to 6 years in prison, but lucky for him, he was acquitted of the more severe charge, the more serious charge of attempted murder. That conviction followed an altercation with Pop-Up, the promoter, who had reportedly failed to pay Jacure for scheduled performances in Amsterdam around October 2021. Jacure was in Amsterdam around that time. All reports coming back to this side of the world was that his shows are sold out. His shows are packed. As a matter of fact, one of the video clips that I use for this video is from one of his performances in Amsterdam around that time. The place is packed with 90% women, and they're screaming and they're carrying on. In other words, Jacure was up there as an artist who can pack a venue, who brings good vibes, who deserves to be paid for his services because the promoter is making off with a nice change. So why wasn't he splitting the money with the artist according to plan? You see, his actions were bad. Jacure's actions were bad, but those bad actions were provoked by what that promoter did. Now, back to what's taking place now. So this ongoing legal battle has kept Jacure in what is called pre-trial detention at a correctional facility in Amsterdam, where he has remained since his arrest in 2021. If Jacure attorneys had said, okay, we accept the time given and we'll just lay down and do our time, and if the prosecution had said, all right, judge, we feel like we proved premeditated attempted murder, but you saw that we didn't. We don't agree with you, but we're not going to pursue this any further, then Jacure would be looking at being out of prison another 2 years from now. A prosecutor from the Netherlands also said in the Netherlands, when you are sentenced to 6 years, you must do every single day of the 6 years. If you're sentenced to 10 years, you will do every single day of whatever it is you're sentenced to. And that is a part of their law. They don't have probation. They don't have parole. They don't have early release. They don't have time off for good behavior. They don't have time off because you're a first-time offender and you took some educational programs and some behavioral classes. They don't have any of that over there. And the reason why he said they don't have that is because it is a slap in the face of the victim of your crime. So, you stabbed a man. You stabbed him. You could have killed him. This is how we, the system, gets justice for him. We can't give you 6 years and then let you out in 3 years because you behaved good while you were behind bars. It was pretty much broken down and explained exactly in those words. So with Jacure being sentenced to 6 years, he was expected to do every day of the 6 years. He's already 4 years in with 2 to go. Now, if they add another 3.5 on top of that, this will take him now back to doing 5.5 or 5.5 years before he is released. Damn. That will be a blow. Also, in the meantime, the appeal proceedings in the Netherlands keeps on going forward, and it's been that way for several months, with prosecutors maintaining that the severity of the attack warrants a harsher sentence, and they're not giving up. They're going to take the judge to court. They're going to have that ruling overturned. They're going to have Jacquier prosecuted properly and given the right sentence. Shit. Now, if the Supreme Court sides with the prosecution, Jacquier will be seeing more time in prison. As of now, if the Supreme Court sides with the prosecution, Jacquier will be looking at 5.5 years more before he is finished. We're in 2026. We're going to 2027. He'll probably be out of prison about 2031. 2031, if the prosecution gets their way. If the prosecution does not get their way, he'll be out of prison about 2028, which, as you can see, even by the way it sounds, is a long stretch. Not only that, there's something else cooking in the background, though, because Jacquier's attorneys have been working feverishly throughout this whole time to try to get his original conviction overturned. So if that actually happens, then he could possibly walk out of prison any given day. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm not just trying to throw any bad vibes that way, but the way how they deal over there, I just can't see them letting him walk free completely. Jacquier is known for many big songs: Unconditional Love, Reflections, Longing for my baby to love me more. What am I longing for? Babylon, release the cure. His supporters continue to support him. An article came out the other day that said that there has been an ongoing effort to silence European radio off of Jacquier's music. As you know, when artists are incarcerated, their monies don't stop growing. You have some good songs out there. Your songs will probably be generating income while you are locked up. And you are then able to spend that money after you're set free. Jacquier right now is paying lawyers to try to get himself free ahead of the actual time he is supposed to be free. So he's not just laying down, taking his time behind bars, saying, I'll wait till my release date. He's actually fighting for his freedom actively. The only thing is, the system is fighting back to give him more time on top of whatever time he was already given. The final ruling from the Dutch Supreme Court, which will determine if he gets more time or not, will be delivered in November of 2025. Today is October 11th that I'm doing this voiceover. November is not far away. Sometime in November, they haven't given the exact date as of yet. Now, once that is determined, that will mean he will either continue doing his time and with only 2 years left, or he will have 3.5 more years added to the 6 years he was already sentenced to bring the total to 9.5 years, which means he won't be getting out in 2028. He'll be getting out in 2031 instead. I hope this brings some clarity to those who are seeking to know what happened with Jacquier and what does this new 9.5 years in the headline means and how it will all break down or work out. I'll catch you on the next video. It's SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace.
Yeah. We live again.